So in this yoga practice, we want to explore the relationship between muscles that we need to tone in order for other muscles to release. So here today we're going to look closely at the tone of the inner thighs and how that relates to our outer layers of our gluteus muscles. The gluteus maximus muscle is necessary to tone when we want to extend our hips. Moving into back bends, for instance, these muscles need to be contracted. So as they extend our hips, they are also externally rotating our legs, which can be a problem because it creates compression in the lumbar spine. So if you have ever done any back bends where there was a lot of compression afterwards, there's a good chance that as you were moving deeper into the posture that your knees started to sway apart and your adductors weren't toned anymore. So we'll play with that today. So in basic postures, familiar postures or fairly familiar postures, so you really have the time to explore the actions within. Okay, here we go. So you will need 2 blocks and a strap and a wall if possible. If the wall is not there, it's still kind of okay, but with the wall it's a lot easier. So sit with your feet about, what is it, like 10, like so you have like a 90-degree angle in your knees, feet parallel and hip width apart. And then you place your hands slightly behind you, fingertips are facing to the outside. And your fingers can be off the mat unless your shoulders are really open right away. Mine usually are on the tighter end. Give your shoulders more space with this hand position. So now we just want to explore something. This is really true. So we're going to extend the hips now, so meaning we're lifting the hips up and then see at what moment the gluteus maximus starts to fire and how this may lead to your knees swaying apart from each other. So here, take a deep breath in. Exhale. And without any extra tone, just lift your hips and see what your body naturally does. So here, at this point I can feel how my butt muscles engage. And this knee moves a lot away from the midline, while this one just a little bit. Interesting. Good. So one more time for yourself. Just keep your feet planted into the ground and then just lift your hips up. Notice when your gluteus muscles are firing and how the knees start to sway apart. Good. So now the theory is when you tone your inner thigh muscles, the superficial layers of your gluteus muscles won't fire, and these guys are in charge of externally rotating your hips. So meaning when you engage your inner thigh muscles, you get the extension, but not the external rotation. So put a block like this in between your feet so that you can push the base of the big toe and the inner heel really strongly into the block. And take a moment as you squeeze the block together with your feet, if you can truly feel a tone in your inner thighs. Yeah, so then maintain this action, move your feet and knees into a hip width apart position. Take a deep breath in, lift your chest, shoulders back. Keep squeezing the block together. Watch your knees again as you slowly lift your hips just as high as you did before. And because you're squeezing the block together, there's a good chance that your knees do not sway apart, even though you got full extension. There you go. So it works in my body. I hope it works for you too. So this is what we're going to play with now through our entire practice to tone the inner thighs and see if there will be some tone but not like complete clenching in your butt muscles, the gluteus muscles. So lay on your back. Push your elbows into the floor. Feet are hip width apart and parallel. Visualize the block in between your feet. So explore the same thing now in bridge pose. Squeeze your feet towards the midline. Hug your shins toward the midline until your inner thighs are toned. Arch your low back to create the natural curve of your lumbar spine. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Inhale, tone your inner thighs. And as you exhale, push your hips up towards the ceiling. While you keep squeezing your shins and feet towards the midline to keep your inner thighs toned, press your hips up using your gluteus muscles and your hamstrings, of course, will tone too, to lift up higher into your bridge pose. Use the inhalation to remind yourself to keep your inner thighs toned, and the exhalation to create greater extension in your hips. And exhale, let the hips come all the way back down to the floor. Extend your legs for a brief moment. You bring your arms to the side like a T, or with your arms softly bent so that your shoulders can be on the floor. Move your hips slightly over towards your left, knees towards your chest, and over towards your right. Yeah, place your right hand onto your knee. Yeah, so, and then keep the left shoulder on the ground for as long as possible. Take a deep breath and engage your inner thighs again. Strong tone. Pull your navel towards your spine, and then as you exhale, twist your torso more over towards the left. Here, just again learn to maintain the tone of your inner thighs for a longer period of time. With an inhalation, come on back to the center, feet down. Move your hips over towards your right. Pull your knees towards your chest and then over to the left. Left hand onto your outer knee, right shoulder down. Take a deep breath in. Tone your inner thighs. Once again, take a deep breath in to retone your inner thighs. As you exhale, move your navel towards your spine and twist more over towards your right. Make your way back towards the center. One more bridge pose. So center yourself on the mat. Take care of the hair. Good. Press your elbows into the floor. Feet hip width apart and parallel. And pull your feet towards each other. And really take some time to really feel like this is really true. We have like 5 adductors, a lot of muscles. Are they really toned? Can I feel the strength? Can I feel the firmness on my inner thighs? Then keeping the curve in your lumbar spine, use the exhale to pull your navel towards your spine. Inhale, retone your inner thighs. Exhale, lift the hips up towards the ceiling. Once your knees are sway apart, it means that your inner thighs just lost the contraction, so you can just recreate it. Place your fingers underneath your low back and move your shoulders more under. So we're adding this shoulder stretch. Move your chin away from your chest. Inhale, hug your shins towards the midline. Exhale, lift your outer hips up higher. And release the clasp, let the hips come all the way back down to the floor. Extend your legs, extend your arms up over your head. And place your hands underneath your sacrum like a little diamond shape and swing up to a seated posture. So, come to all fours. And to refresh, it's always the same actions, but sometimes when we simply change the shape of our body, they feel different. You're like, I can't remember how that was. So we will review. Put the block in between the base of the big toe and your inner heels. Palms down, knees hip width apart. Take a deep breath in. And press your feet into the block strongly. And wait until you feel a response of your adductors. Are you really doing the work? Keep squeezing the block together as you press back to downward facing dog. And again, the first dog pose, your knees can be slightly bent. Lift your hips up a lot so you can maintain the curve of your lumbar spine. Keep pressing the inner heels to the midline. This is the first foot goes. And then see if you can extend your legs all the way to the floor, and maybe not, it's also fine, without losing the hugging to the midline action. Use the inhale to recontract your muscles, and use the exhalation to extend up through the inner heels down towards the floor. Good. Release. Come on back down to your knees. Step your right leg forward. Place both hands on the inside of your front leg. Come up high on your tippy toes of your back leg. And squeeze the inner heel and the base of the big toe to the midline. And test again. Are the adductors strong? Keep that as you exhale, bow more forward. You can stay high on your fingertips. And then slowly with a long spine, let the base of the heart lead as you bow more forward. And don't be too concerned here right now on how low you can go. Yeah, so bring more of your effort and awareness to the continuous firmness of your inner thighs. Then straighten your arms again. Curl the toes under on your back leg all the way and straighten your back leg fully. Place your right hand onto your hip. Squeeze to the midline again so your knee stays right over your front ankle. Good. Squeezing to the midline will help you to feel also more centered and start to twist your torso towards your right. Do your best to not get your hips out of the squareness so you're only twisting your torso. Reach your arm up. Lower the hand down to the floor on the outside of your front foot and extend your front leg. So, if your hamstrings say, are you kidding? You can't reach the floor. Please use your blocks. Just elevate the floor. So you can also do this pose. I think they call it the runner's lunge. So the action again remains the same. Right now we're just going to learn again to retone the inner thighs. And then maintain this tone as we move deeper into the posture. So let's see, don't need the blocks. Fingertips can be on the floor. As I said before, don't worry too much about the outer shape. Can you bring all your awareness to the actions within? Inhale, tone your inner thighs. Exhale, make your spine longer. Inhale, create more stability in your inner thighs. And then maybe let the heart lead as you bow a little bit more forward. Straighten your arms again. Shift your weight towards your front foot. Hands down. Step back, downward facing dog. So here we go, second side. Step your foot forward, lower the back knee down to the floor. Place both hands on the outside. Actually, in front of your foot. Stay high on your fingertips. We'll do this version. So again, visualize that block on the inside of your back foot especially, and retone the inner thighs. Yeah, so again, remember that engaging the muscles also helps you to become more aware of yourself. Yeah, so you literally know more where you're at in space. Are your hips square or not? You will learn. Yeah, so with that toned inner thigh, move the thigh back. Extend your spine, and then slowly with the base of the heart, leading, start to bow forward. Use the pulsation of the breath to find greater depth in this posture. The inhale goes well with recontracting, creating more stability, and the exhalation goes well with deepening or creating more length. Straighten your arms, place your hand more back onto the mat. Straighten your back leg all the way. Stay deep in your front knee. Squeeze to the midline to keep your hips square. Also again, to increase your awareness, and then slowly start to twist towards your left. Again, the inhalation to recontract your muscles, and then use the exhalation to twist deeper. Lower the hands down to the floor, and then straighten your front leg. It's very windy outside today. If you hear maybe the noise, that's the wind outside. Squeeze again in, hug in to tone your inner thighs. Take a deep breath in, long, long spine. As you exhale, bow forward. Remember, you can use the blocks if the floor seems unavailable with a straight leg. Work first on the straight leg before you bow forward. Once the leg is straight, then bowing more forward makes sense. Inhale, hug into the midline. Exhale, create more length. Inhale, retone your inner thighs. As you exhale, bow more forward. Straighten your arms. Bring weight onto your front leg. Palms down, downward facing dog. Bend your knees slightly. Pull your shins towards each other to tone your inner thighs. Move your inner thighs back. As you exhale, move your navel towards your spine and slowly start to extend up through your inner heels. Good. Come on down to your knees. For now, let's sit in Vajrasana. You're just sitting on your feet. If this is too intense, you can keep your hands out in front of you. It brings less weight onto your ankles and less pressure onto your knees. So you can walk your way slowly back. Now we're beginning now to stretch also the quads. Clasp your fingers behind your low back. Take a deep breath in, now lift your inner body. So it's like you want to lift the base of the heart up towards the sky and then move the top of your arm bones towards the space behind you. Make sure there's a soft bend in your elbows. It's better for your shoulder alignment. Take a deep breath in, lift your heart, pull your shoulder blades towards each other. Just like we do with the shins, squeezing to the midline. And then release. For a brief moment, just come to all fours, curl your toes back under, hug in to it's almost like, okay, how was it again? How do I engage my inner thighs? So, all fours is a little easier to feel. So retone your inner thighs. And this time we'll move to Virasana. So sitting on the floor is not possible yet. In between your feet, make sure you have your block before you sit back. As usual, split your calf muscle. So I'm having my hand flat on the calf and I'm pulling my fingers towards the heels so that I have part of my calf muscle on the inside and part of my calf muscle on the outside. Your knees will like this. So then again, if you're like, oh, floor is not really there yet, please make sure if you sit on something that both sitting bones are on the block. You should be able to breathe. Yeah, so meaning if you go too deep, your breath becomes all tight, and meaning you are in a position that your body is not ready to do yet. I'm good here, so I'll take this away. So squeeze your shins towards each other to create the tone in your inner thighs. Move your inner thighs down towards the floor. And then slowly, with the inner thighs moving down to the floor, you become heavier and heavier, so that your butt can move closer towards the floor or root even your thighs more down into the earth. Good. And bring some tone into your pelvic floor, lift your lower belly, create space out through the crown of your head. We'll interlace the fingers again, but this time with the other finger on top. So the one that feels weird, if you do it behind your back, always feels like someone else's hand. For some reason it never goes away, huh? So here we go. Take a deep breath in, move the head of the arm bones back. With your elbows softly bent, start moving your hands away from your own body. So as we're working here now to open up our shoulders, and you also keep your inner thighs engaged because we're also stretching our quads, obviously. So the inner thighs need to be toned by squeezing your feet towards each other. Open up your front body by squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other. And release. Downward facing dog. Usually we move a bit slower coming out of this posture. The importance is that you really tone the muscles of your legs around your feet and your ankles. And then use the exhalation to press the heels back down to the floor. So now take your left leg forward. Oops, it looks like I forgot to close the door. The supervisor is here. Left leg forward, pigeon pose, and place your left hand out in front of you. So right now we just want to stretch the quads and do not want to go into the hip flexors. So as you therefore are making you bow forward slightly. Good. Look back, make sure that your knees right behind your sitting bones. Now it has a tendency to sway out, which creates external rotation. So knee right behind your sitting bones, hand out in front of you. Curl your toes under, like we did before. Hug your inner heel and the base of the big toe towards the midline. As you do this action, you're not just engaging your inner thighs. Naturally, your right hip wants to move away from the midline, which helps you to keep it square. That's the whole point here. Then bend the leg, wrap the foot on the inside. And this might be your thigh stretch today. This could be it. Help with your hand, push your hand and your foot into each other. Thank you, sweetie. To tone your inner thigh. And then see how close you can move your foot towards your buttocks. So engaging the inner thighs and widen your right hip to the right. Lift your low belly and look forward. And again, can you maintain an even tone in your inner thighs to prevent your hips from going this way? Yeah, so that would be the external rotation. Now release the foot. Just a quick dog pose to transition. Not a lingering long. Right leg forward. Move your knee back. Take a look. Make sure that your knee's right behind your sitting bone. Take your right hand out in front of you. Here we go. Hug your shin to the midline to tone your inner thighs. Bend your leg. Grab the foot on the inside so that your thumb is facing up towards the ceiling, like you're hitchhiking. Then push your foot into your hand and the hands into the foot. Widen your left hip to the left. Only so much until your hips are square. It doesn't have to be wider. Just square hips. So you may stay here if your body allows. Start to move the foot closer towards your buttocks. And again, maintain the strength in your inner thighs to maintain the squareness of your hips. The inner thighs do not turn anymore, your gluteus maximus engages too much and wants to externally rotate your hip. So we don't want that. Just want to be square in this posture. And release. Once again, back to downward facing dog. So pigeon pose again, left leg forward first. In this version, take the top of the foot down. Again, make sure that your knee is behind your sitting bone, not too far out. And get your thigh a little closer to the floor. Meaning, instead of being up here, trying to get the thigh further back so it comes lower down to the floor, because now we want to add the psoas stretch. Take the quads out of the equation, at least 3 of them. Good, so here click the toenails into the floor. Yeah, so there's a good tone in your back leg, and squeeze your shin to the midline, which is harder when the foot is pointed, just saying. Widen your right hip to the right. If you need to, you can place your hands on 2 blocks. If you can't lift your torso at all, support yourself with hands on the blocks. And they can be in different positions. Or you can place your right hand onto your hip, and the right hand can help you to know, are your hips out of alignment or are they still square? Yeah, so I'm trying to almost hold on to my hip bone here and use the left hand to create more lift from the inner body. So squeeze to the midline, widen your right hip to the right. My right hand tells me, okay, hips are square. Lift your pelvic floor, your low belly muscle. And then you can utilize your left hand to create more length, just length. And then move your side ribs towards the back of your body. And release. Hands down to the floor. Quick transition via downward facing dog. Right leg forward. So move your left thigh back. Top of the foot comes down. Have your blocks ready if you wish to use them. Bring your awareness to your back leg. Take a deep breath in and tone your inner thighs. Again, remember, when the foot is pressing onto the floor, sometimes it cramps a little bit in the beginning, so just release until the cramp goes away and then join us again. Hug your inner heel and the base of the big toe towards the midline. Inner thighs are strong, widen your hip to the left. Now place your hands onto the blocks, or right hand right where the thigh meets your hip, and the left hand onto your hip bone. And you really want to feel your bone. A little more. Good. So squeeze your left leg towards the midline, widen the left hip to the left. Use your hand as you press your right thigh down. Lift your pelvic floor. Lift your low belly up to create more space and length. And then move the side ribs back and start to curl back. Make sure that your inner thighs stay toned. And slowly release. Go to downward facing dog. Look forward. Step your left leg forward, straighten both legs. If reaching the floor is difficult, please place 2 blocks underneath your hands. As we did before, hug your inner heel, base of the big toes towards the midline until you feel the strength of your inner thighs. Take a deep breath in and lengthen. As you exhale, move your navel towards your spine. Then again, lead with your heart as you bow more forward. Especially the back right inner thigh here wants to go to sleep first. So again, don't worry too much about how much you can bow forward. Can you maintain the tone in your right inner thigh and keep widening the right hip to the right as you bow more forward. So look up halfway. Bend your front knee, step back. Switch sides. Right leg forward. Lift your knees. Make sure you have your blocks underneath your hands. Whichever position they may support you best. Tone your inner thighs. By now you probably know how. Widen your left hip towards the left. And then move your low belly away from your right thigh. Create more length. Wait for your exhale to bow forward, leading with your heart. And keep checking back with that left inner thigh. Yeah, is it toned? Is the left inner thigh like pushing your hip towards the left for the sake of squareness of the hips? That's all. So look up halfway again. Bend your front knee, step back, downward facing dog. Come on down to your knees. Come more to the front of your mat. Once again, Virasana. Pull your hands along the center of your calves towards your heels. Use the blocks if necessary. And here really click the toenails strongly into the floor and squeeze the inner heels towards the midline. If you want, you can even try now pushing your hands or your fingers against the inner heels and squeeze it. It's quite difficult in this pose, I must admit. But possible. So, place your hands now behind you. Let's see which version we can do today. You may stay here because your body says that's it. So now if your quads are a little bit longer, lower your elbows down to the floor. If you are sitting on a block, you should not go any lower than being on your elbows. Yeah, good. If you are not sitting on a block, everybody, tone your inner thighs, move your inner thighs down towards the earth, lift your low belly. And again, if you're not sitting on the block, you can lower down so that your shoulders come to the floor and your head is on the floor. In this pose, there's always a curve in the lumbar spine, guys. It has to be there. And notice here too how the knees have the tendency to move away from the midline, so keep squeezing towards the midline. Engage your inner thighs a lot and move them down towards the earth. And place your elbows back down to the floor, lift your torso. Come back to Virasana. See, my knees did sway apart a little bit. All does work. And then from here we move to Uttanasana. Try to do it in 2 steps. Maybe 3. 1, 2, 3. Check out your feet. Excuse me. A frog in my throat. Usually feet go from green to red again. Tone your leg muscles. Hug your shins towards each other. Inhale, look up halfway. And as you exhale, bow forward. Once again, look up halfway. And exhale. Find your block, only put somewhere between your feet, even though the position of your feet will change. Come on down. Keep your toes curled under and put the block in between your feet. Actually on this one, make it a bit nicer, especially if you have tighter hips or front body hips. Front body hips. hip flexors, tight hip flexors. So in Ustrasana, the camel pose, the knees really want to go to the outside. So see if you can really challenge yourself today to not go any further than your knees will allow. Yeah, so meaning as soon as your knees start to move apart from each other, either your adductors are not engaged anymore, or you're just simply going too deep. Even in best alignment, you still can go too far. Yeah? So place your hands onto your hips. Take a deep breath in. Push your feet, inner heel and base of the big toe really strongly into the block. It's like you want to make juice out of it. Inner thighs are toned. Now move the top of your thighs back. Sweet. Lift your pelvic floor muscles and your low belly. Lift your heart and shoulders back. Now comes the hip extension. Start to shift your hips forward. So you're extending the hips, but maintain the tone of your inner thighs. And reach for your heels. If that's not possible, you just keep your hands on your hips. Then back off a little bit, so move back and flex your hips a little bit. Squeeze the inner heels to the midline. Base of the big toe. Really tone your inner thighs a lot. As you exhale, engage your pelvic floor and your low belly. And with your next exhale, extend the hips. Release. Hands to your hips. And now since we have the block, you can just sit on it. How convenient. Brief rest. Yeah, so again, don't just take the teachings for granted. Really see if you can experience it in your own body, because if you can't, then you can't use the principles of alignment to find optimal alignment. And so if you want, you can just turn the tape off and play with this a little bit, or you just follow me, we'll do one more. This time, I give you the option, taking the tops of the feet down, so that especially the inner heel presses against the block. I like the higher blocks for this one, because the heels are more easily to press into. Hands to your hips. Push your inner heel to the block, base of the big toe. First, move the top of the thighs back, so you're actually creating some hip flexion. Good. Maintain the tone in your inner thighs, and add the tone of the pelvic floor into your low belly. Now utilize your gluteus muscles to get the top of your thighs forward. You're extending your hips. At the same time though, you're moving your inner thighs back towards the space behind you. So there's a difference between moving the outer body versus inner action. Place your hands onto your heels. Then again, back off a little bit. Engage your inner thighs again. Squeeze the block together. And then as you exhale, extend your hips more. Hands to your hips. And sit down. Sweet. Again, you're welcome to play now a little longer. If you want to add some Urdhva Dhanurasanas and wheels, go ahead. Your body is now well prepared and warm. I'm going to make this class now coming to an end. So come back to seated position with your knees bent, hands behind you like we did when we started our practice today. Place your left foot on top of your right knee, flare your toes. If your outer vertebrae are really tight, sometimes it's nicer to move your other foot away from you. That makes it more accessible. Take a deep breath in and lift your chest. Move your arm bones back. Walk your hands further in so you can move your heart towards your shin. Sweet. Walk your hands back out. Feet parallel. Right foot on top of the knee. Same here, never changes. Tone your inner thighs. Curve your lumbar spine. And again, use the exhalation to find greater depth in this asana. Use the inhalation to increase stability and awareness. Yeah, so simply by contracting your muscles. And release. Lower down on your low back. On your entire back. Arms to the side. Feet as wide as the mat apart from each other. Take a deep breath in. Lift your toes. On this one here, drag your heels towards your hips. So your hamstrings are toned and engage your inner thighs. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, move both knees over towards your right. Inhale, come on back to the center. See if you can maintain the previous actions. Exhale, knees over towards the left. So you go back and forth. The inhale lifts the knees. The exhale takes the knees down. And see if you can increase the length of your breath. And therefore, also slowing down the movement. Come on back towards the center. Feet back to a hip width apart in parallel position. Hold on to the shin of your right leg and pull the shin towards you. Release. Right foot down, left knee towards you. Both legs down, and to finish, good old happy baby. You grab the little toe side of your feet, go on the inside of your knees, and then as you exhale, push the knees down towards the earth. And here again, you try to maintain some curve in your lumbar spine. The action counts more than the outer shape. Time to rest. So again, Shavasana is very important so that all the knowledge, intellectual knowledge can now move into your onto a cellular level to create muscular memory, to create a more healthy posture when you don't think about it. So please rest for at least 5 minutes, 10 minutes would be even better. Close your eyes. Take one more deep breath in. Your shoulders slightly more under so your heart feels open. And then with your next exhalation, see if you can relax every single muscle in your face. And soften your skin. You try to stay alert for as long as possible. And so it's a conscious relaxation pose. Enjoy.